the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please call the roll.
Director Robertson,
Here.
Director Ratterman,
Here.
Director Garamendi,
Sure.
President Davidson,
I'm here as well.
and Director Thomas is absent today.
Okay, and item number 2 is public comment. This time, members of the public may address the board on any non-agendized item. Public is encouraged to work through staff to place items on the agenda for board consideration. No action can be taken on matters not listed on the agenda. Comments are limited to 3 minutes per person. Is there any public comment? Carl?
Good morning. I'm
Morning.
Carlos Stoughton. I hope everybody's doing well. I'm sad to see that Russ can't be here today. I have so many, so few old time friends these days. Everybody's new. Russ I've known for probably 20 years. So, anyway, I'm alive. I had to shave off the beard because of medical reasons, but I am here. We'll have something else we'll talk about later, but people don't know my interest in water, and most of what I do is related to water. My grandfather, who was much older than my grandmother, along with the Los Angeles Times, built the water system in the lower Imperial Valley, the one in Mexico, and the family has ranch land down there. That is fed by the Colorado River. The Colorado River by 2050 will have 31% less water moving through it. That's going to impact not only that lower Imperial Valley, it's going to impact Ensenada that has a pipeline that is.
Do you have anything that actually concerns this board?
Yes.
Okay.
We're getting there.
All right.
So whenever I shouldn't have continued with that, but you're in a hurry, Mr. Davidson,
Well,
because
this
this is, the climate changes are going to affect all of us.
okay.
When we look at a place like Ensenada, when we look at Tijuana, when we look at San Diego, Los Angeles, all which are fed by the Colorado River, realize that those changes are also going to affect, and rainfall are also going to affect CCWD, and how we, or how you, because I'm going to be long gone, will manage that water. So I always look at your agendas and see what is going to impact me in the short term, not only what's going to impact everybody in the long term.
All right. Thank you. Is there any other public comment today? Anybody online? All right, we'll move on to the consent agenda. The following items are expected to be routine, non-controversial items will be acted upon by the board at one time without discussion. Any board member may request that an item be removed for later discussion. 3A, approval of minutes for the board meeting September 10th. 3B, report on monthly investment transactions for August 2025. 3C, renewal of Cal OES designation. Could I have a motion for acceptance?
Second.
Motion and a second. Signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion carries. We'll move on to new business. Discussion action regarding adoption of initial study mitigating negative declaration, West Point Water Supply Drought Project. Kevin.
Good afternoon, directors, or good morning, sorry. It's been a long morning already. So I got a little slide deck that we're gonna show, but kind of today's agenda item 4A is for the board to consider the adoption of the initial study mitigating negative declaration for the and the mitigation monitoring and reporting program, the MMRP, for the West Point Water Supply Drought Project. So this is a CEQA clearance. We need to move forward with the final design and the construction funding. That's a picture of the existing reservoir there. So kind of The agenda we're gonna talk about today is kind of introduction, the CEQA ISMND process, permitting coordination, project overview, environmental commitments, and kind of next step. We also brought Charlie's here from Base Camp Environmental. He's the one that kind of spearheaded this whole environmental document that we're talking about today. So under CEQA, we must identify potential environmental impacts and determine whether they can be reduced to less than significant levels. The initial study for this project found that some potential impacts like biology, hydrology, and cultural resources, mitigation measures were identified to reduce these impacts. Because all the impacts can be mitigated and mitigated negative declaration rather than a full EIR was prepared. We also prepared a mitigation monitoring and reporting program. This ensures that the mitigation measures are carried out during the design and construction. That's a packet you received this morning. It's available for anybody else that wants a copy. So permitting coordination. So CEQA adoption is the first step of a larger process. We still need to obtain the regulatory permits. These include the Clean Water Section 404 from the Army Corps, 401 from the Water Board, and the stream bed alteration from Fish and Wildlife. The Division of Safety of Dams will also need to approve the final design before the construction can begin. On the federal side, FEMA will also be required to do a NEPA, environmental and historical preservation review, before construction funding can be released from FEMA. So that's kind of where a lot of other, it's been our experience that they do a very thorough review too, on top of our thorough review of environmental. So kind of the project overview. This project is located at our existing reservoir in West Point. It's known to CCWD as the Bummerville Reservoir. In the permitting agencies, it's the regulating reservoir. It's near Winton and Bummerville Roads in West Point. The purpose is to improve drought resiliency and provide reliable water supply for the West Point community. Kind of the key improvements of the project is raising the earthen dam, expanding the storage from 50 acre feet to 150 acre feet, reconstructing the spillway, and modifying the outlet works. So the new requirement is the 2,600 year storm. So we went from, instead of the 1,000 year storm, we got the 2,600 year storms. So we're designing the outlet structures to meet that. So it's kind of like a, 40 days and 40 nights of rain type of deal that, in Sunday school.
Does that still happen?
I don't know.
Every 2600.
As we're ready.
But the additional features include the access roads, a new culvert, borrow and disposal areas that have been identified within the construction materials from the. So we're going to use borrow sites from the West Point water treatment plant that we have across the road, and there's also some spoils left over from the wastewater treatment plant project. So the environmental commitments, the ISMD identifies mitigation in several areas. The biological resources, cultural resources. So surveys were done for the cultural resources. There's monitoring protocols in place if anything's found during construction. So we'd have to stop and evaluate the situation at that point. And then we got erosion control, stormwater BMPs, and revegetation. The MMRP ensures that these measures are actually implemented during construction. Talk about there. So here's kind of like, I want to kind of talk about the HMGP challenges and work effort. So it's been a major team effort. Our engineering technician, Sam Singh's kind of been coordinating the work closely with Blackwater Engineers, our design consultant, Base Camp Environmental. FEMA awarded this grant to Cal OES 2 months before we received it. And there was a 14-month process to get 60% design done, environmental. So we put it out to competitive bid for consultants, and that took about 3 months. We also had to complete an initial CEQA in order to do the geotech investigation for this project. Then 2 months ago, Cal OES notified us that FEMA required project packet It was actually due to them 45 days before it was due to FEMA. So that was news to us. So we've been kind of moving in full speed ahead to try to get this done this week by September 28th. So we can get everything into FEMA by basically the end of this week. But we're confident that we've done due diligence and we produced a defensible environmental review. So we feel good about that. The next steps, well, kind of here, I want to talk about the design a little bit. So this is kind of what the grading is going to look like for the enlargement of the reservoir. And so we're going to kind of build up the reservoir so we're going to excavate the material within the reservoir. We'll take all the muck and stuff that's unsuitable out first, and then the rest of the excavation will be used to build this embankment. So the embankment will be on the inside of the existing dam. We don't have real estate to move on the outside, so the embankment will be built on the inside with the spoils from inside the reservoir. Okay, so the next step is for the board to adopt the ISMND and the MMRP today. Staff will file the notice of determination with the county clerk today.
Sorry, hold on real quick, Kevin. That's a mitigated negative declaration and a mitigation and monitoring reporting plan. Careful. on that.
Yeah, we went through the slides here.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Went through this.
That's what I get for showing up.
And then we went through kind of like this to it. So Michael's get up to speed. We got the introduction, then we talk about the process. Okay.
Sure you don't need more time to catch up?
So the board adopts, the design will continue to advance at 90% and 100% design levels once the phase 2 funding's authorized by FEMA. And then we'll finish securing the permits from DSOD, the Army Corps, the Water Board, and Fish and Wildlife. So all those applications will go in this week. We've already had our pre-meetings with those agencies, but they can't officially take our application until this is approved today. So staff recommends that we adopt the resolution that's in your packet. And we have Charlie here to answer any questions that we have about any of the details on the environmental documents.
I got just one quick question. The comments that we received were from California Department of Fish and Wildlife and Central Valley Regional Water Quality Control Board. How does that affect those comments? How does that affect our project, and what do we do in response to those comments?
So in the packet, there's a response, the packet that you received today, the initial study, we responded to all those comments on this. I think it's on the first page right here. So they really, I don't know that they fully understand the project when they wrote the comments, because just to clarify, this reservoir, there's no natural streams coming into this reservoir. There's no natural outlets to this reservoir. This is like basically a man-made reservoir. There was nothing there before we built this reservoir. And it flows with there's HDP pipe that comes from Bear Creek diversion that's sometimes dry, when we're not using the diversion. So there's really the comments they made I don't think they fully understand the project in its entirety and how the system operates. So we feel comfortable addressing their comments in the ISMND.
Thanks.
I have a couple of comments, Kevin. If it flows in with a pipe, I assume there's some kind of shut off on the pipe if you had to. And if there is a shut off, why is there a need to build up?
So yeah, it's kind of a brief history on the project. So so we have two water sources currently for the West Point water system. We have the Middle Fork pump station, this aging infrastructure. And that's a very expensive project to redo that whole pipeline. And then we have this reservoir, with that Middle Fork, we had to purchase the water from CCWD. But we have water rights from Bear Creek for 150 acre-feet of storage, and we don't have to purchase the water, and it flows by gravity to our reservoir. So this project seasonally we have to rely on water from the Middle Fork. So by expanding this reservoir, we'll mitigate or reduce our reliance on the Middle Fork project. kind of failing infrastructure, the pump stations on the tribal reservation.
Mhm.
And so there's a lot of challenges with operating that system. So in the long
It's
term,
really about having capacity for water rather than potential floods then.
yeah, it's just for,
Storage.
yeah, we divert water from Bear Creek. So we have like a concrete diversion within Bear Creek that we open the gates and it flows by gravity to ours. And it's just got the valve on, there's not really a valve on the reservoir side, it's more of a flat gate, so stuff appears can't get back in the pipe. But yeah, so it flows out, it just flows, and depending on the level of Bear Creek, the flows vary. But so we'll try to store the water so we have multiple seasons worth of storage in the reservoir to supply year-round water to the community of West Point.
Yeah, understood. And then with regard to FEMA, are we starting to see any cancellation of funding for any of our FEMA grants?
Not outright cancellation. We have an ongoing project where we're waiting for phase 2 from, it's the Hunter raw water pipeline or raw water pump station project. And that one, there were some funding issues with the funding that was in the basket that was supposed to designate for our project, and we had to redo the application under a different process. So it's been taking longer than they initially told us, but they say the money's coming. Then we have a generator project too that it hasn't been canceled. It's a FEMA hazard mitigation project also. And that project has had some delays on it, and we're just asking for an extension per Cal ES. So stuff's kind of taking a lot longer. They've changed a lot of rules in FEMA. The BRIC program, which is another program that FEMA has, that got outright canceled. That was the climate change initiatives in that BRIC program. So the new administration canceled that program. But this hazard mitigation is still good for now. It's going to be phased out over the next few years as a potential grant. So they're not. This is the last round that we just submitted an application for the Big Trees pump station under hazard mitigation, and that was the last round of hazard mitigation funds ever. So, so yeah, it's coming to an end, but we haven't. I don't think it's getting canceled.
Thank you.
One more question on so the expanding this reservoir is, the other source of water is the Middle Fork, which is, we're purchasing that from from CPUD. This will, by expanding this reservoir, it will save us, we will buy less water from them in the future?
Yeah, the idea is that only on the worst water years we have to buy water from them. So I mean, the idea is that even on drought conditions, we supply enough water with this reservoir. And then, I mean, if there's extreme conditions for more than a few years in a row, we probably have the potential to keep that system functioning as long as it can.
But right now we buy water almost every year, right?
I don't think every year. There's been a few years, last few years we haven't buying water. I think this year we're purchasing some.
Almost every year, though. It's unusual when we don't.
Okay.
And we would still have that option going forward. This just gives us some more flexibility.
All right. Anybody else?
I got one. Kevin, first off, great project, Damon. I want to thank you for walking me through, because this is a complex system that you guys have got, and holding my hand and showing me everything, made it clear. Thank you for that investment of time. When do we think, we're getting close on engineering, we've got this next phase. You have a crystal ball to think when we might be able to break ground?
So so it's 48 month is the time frame that you have to complete the project, and that includes construction for FEMA guidelines. You can ask for extensions. So that being said, we got the notice in, I think it was October must have been September that it kicked off. So it'd be 48 months from last September. So basically, further time frame it'd have to be completed in the next 3 years. So, but that could be stalled out by any one of these permit conditions. But yeah, the idea is to be able to get it done in one construction season. So.
And we will, during that construction season, we're obviously going to dry out the dam. Do we have a backup plan for water during that time that it's offline?
Yeah, we'd have to use the Middle Fork during that time. So we would be pumping, we can pump directly. So the Middle Fork can either pump to this reservoir or it can pump directly to our treatment plant. It doesn't have, there's going to have to be some coordination with our treatment plant process, because the flow rate can't keep up during the peak hours from the Middle Fork pump station, so they'll be having probably to make water different times of the day than they're used to. So there'll be some additional work to try to maintain enough supply to the community. But yes, that's the plan.
So we have a contingency plan for this.
Yeah.
Mr. Chair, I have enough further questions. If you'd like a motion, I can make that.
Yeah, absolutely.
I make a motion to accept this item. Oh, sorry.
We can still get a second, and then we'll have, public comment.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there any public comment?
Okay, public comment period, I assume. Yeah, I went over the old fashioned USGS topographical maps last night. And I don't see a negative impact on the downstream residents of the area. I think you have 15 downstream residents before it hits the middle fork of the Macomb River. My one concern is you haven't had any public meetings regarding this, and people are going to have questions during the construction project, seeing all the heavy equipment going in there. And it'd be nice to let people know what's going on. Other than that, I'll go over to the county now and bother them for a little while. They don't like to see me, so I can think of no better reason to go there.
Have a good day. All right, we have a motion and a second. Is there any more public comment? Anybody online? Please call the roll.
Director Robertson,
Ruth?
Director Ratterman,
Yes.
Director Garamendi,
Aye.
President Davidson.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you. And we want to thank Base Camp and Blackwater. They're really, with this truncated schedule, they're really pushing through. So I appreciate that.
All right, thank you very much.
And we can always use more water storage. Oh, never know.
All right, we'll move on to general manager's report.
All right. Thank you, Kevin. That was well done. So I do have a few items to report on. We have just to let the board know, we budgeted for it, but we have a groundwater assessment coming up. We've contracted, or we are in the process of contracting with Woodward and Kern. I believe we're still making sure we get some quotes on that one, but it'll enable us to better understand the inflow and outflow of the groundwater basin and our position in the groundwater basin and potential opportunities there. So I think it's a really important piece for us to have moving forward. We've also met recently with there's a new executive director of the Groundwater Authority, Julia Berry. She seems super sharp. She's been involved in other groundwater basins, and so a really productive meeting with her this week, and the current chair of the board. So we're moving forward with our governance discussions on our GSA, but also working closely with DWR and the Groundwater Authority on how we can best position ourselves down there. So we'll probably have an agendized item with all, more detailed update on those fronts in the near future. I just want to briefly address the interim Utica GM made some comments at our engineering committee meeting last week that were, a bit interesting and somewhat frustrating to hear. In particular, the one thing I just want to address really quickly is the accusation that we're somehow not including the City of Angels Camp in our discussions about emergency intertie and backup water supply that we're having with UPUD. And I just want to make sure our board is aware that we have had those discussions with the city. We've had those discussions with every city manager going back to Michael McCatton, and including the most recent one. So those discussions absolutely do happen between us and the city, and I just want to make sure our board is aware of that. And I think in the end, it was troubling to hear those comments, but it also kind of opened up the opportunity for us to address them head on. Because I think some of what was expressed has been whispered about and nobody confronting us about it. And so it gave me an opportunity to do some outreach over the last week and clarify some of those issues and some of the misunderstandings that were expressed. So in the end, I think it was a good thing. So yeah, engineering committee last week, always impressive to see how much our engineering team is doing. And we also had a good finance committee meeting last week. We've been meeting on our water rights, just a quick update on this, and we'll probably do a more detailed update again in the near future, but we filed the water rights extensions for the water for power generation in the North Fork project. We received protests from SSJID and OID, but we're working with them on resolving those issues, and we think we've made a lot of good progress there. So we got an extension from the water board on the deadline to resolve those issues, and I think we're on track to do that. Let's see, the Aqua update is the board was scheduled to appoint a new executive director earlier this week, and it didn't happen. So it was in closed session, so they haven't disclosed what the details were, but there was no reportable action. And they're going to reconvene, I think, next week to see if they can make the selection on an executive director. The Valley Springs Public Utility District meetings, we've talked about that in engineering committee quite a bit, and Director Davidson and Director Radman both joined Kevin and I at VSPUD to further explore the possibility of an interconnection between our sewer systems, and considering the infrastructure challenges we both have down there. Really positive meeting, and there's a board meeting coming up tomorrow. That Director Ratterman and Kevin, I believe, will attend, where they're actually considering a resolution to pursue a grant application to work with us on that. So really excited about that, and that's another one. We'll bring another more detailed update back to the board, depending on the outcome of the meeting tomorrow. I'll be at the NCPA conference for the rest of the week this week, where we have some meetings set up. Next week, Water Education Foundation Water Summit in Sacramento. So if the board members aren't familiar with that, it's always a very good one-day, very educational event. So I recommend it, and I can send you more info if you'd like.
What day is that, Michael?
Wednesday.
Okay.
And then we also have UMRA next week. Next Friday is UMRA's annual, the regular UMRA meeting, followed by the annual East Bay Mud Barbecue Party. That's all I have.
All right. Okay, we'll move on to board reports. Jack, do you have anything to report?
I do not.
Scott?
Yeah, I went to Kajapa conference in Monterey last week, and again, that
Sounds made up. I'm just.
Kajapa, California JPA is what it stands for. It's for the pooling industry.
Okay.
A lot of good information. As I've reported before at the pooling conferences, they focus on AI and AI tools. I went to one seminar. There were 7 people up on stage, and each of them did something. 2 of them were live. They had a bot that the guy was talking to, and it was doing stuff, giving him answers. Just amazing stuff if you know how to use them. The one thing I learned, and I tried to do it yesterday with our packet, is taking a packet and using the app Notebook LLM. It makes a podcast. But if you take your packet or anything, any packet of paper, throw it in there, and you can listen to the summary of 2 people talking about the details of it, and it creates it in it. It's a free app. It creates it in about 30 seconds, and instead of reading your entire packet, you dump it in there, and then there's 2 people. It's just amazing what they're talking about, all the details and the information in the packet, and you just listen to it on a podcast. Amazing
You
stuff.
just gotta put your social security number in there first.
No.
Driver's license, credit card.
No credit cards, no it's just free. It's all free now. This stuff is all going to cost a lot of money in the future to pay for.
If you want, we could just start preparing our agenda packets in podcast format.
The other thing is there's so many other boards that are using this, including the JPA where I serve in Roseville. And I know I've talked to Michael about implementing it here. It's a AI bot that listens to this meeting and summarizes it, provides the minutes, which I know we work hard on, and it's a huge saver. But that was one of the items that almost everyone on that panel where their home board uses that. And I know Shaman, our clerk at JPIA was so thankful for it and not having to do the minutes. When the meeting is done, the minutes are done, and you just got to review them and make sure that they're accurate. I recommend we go get on that and at
Got
least
some other employment opportunities.
yeah. And you have
Becca and I have been talking about that and also looking at other AI opportunities. We're working on an AI policy, so we'll be bringing some discussion of all those things back to the board too. We're talking to other
Good.
agencies about how they're incorporating this.
And I'm going to say it again. I heard it again. AI is not going to take your job, but someone who knows how to use AI will take your job. It's coming. It's here, I should say.
I could just get it to put that roof on the building. Right.
Fix my
Right.
toilet.
Jeff, you have anything?
I do not.
Neither do I. Although I will say our meeting with Valley Springs PUD, that was pretty promising. There's a great opportunity there, and I appreciate Kevin's efforts of bringing that forward. That's pretty exciting.
Yeah.
Okay, with that, our next board meeting is Wednesday, October the 8th, 1 p.m. We're going to adjourn the closed session with negotiating General Manager Michael Minkler, HR Manager Stacy Lawler, regarding negotiations with employee SEIU 1021. And then conference with legal counsel, anticipated litigation. Is there any public comment on our closed session? Okay, we will adjourn to closed session.